Hi, my name is David Dolbaum, and I'm going to be talking to you today about Project 619, the Institute of Black Culture. The Institute of Black Culture is a new construction building by the University of Florida on the north side of campus. So talk about me a little bit. I got introduced to this building actually by my one friend in the Chiefs Bus, which is, their building is the La Casita. And he was telling me about how when they were going to demolish La Casita, that he was scared that, well, one, that it wasn't going to be rebuilt, and two, that he was going to lose a home that he really had developed over 2 years of studying there and being there. And so he really wanted to, he was just hopeful that, the university would rebuild it. And so remembering this from a couple years ago got me started to think when I had to do a project on buildings around the university. And the second reason I did this project is that I was looking for a sustainable project, and the University of Florida has a LEED program, and that all their buildings have to be LEED certified from now on. And so I knew I was going to look in from the university, and then personally I like modern designs, and so I chose the Institute of Black Culture as my building. And today I just want to convey to you two major things. Basically, why are we rebuilding this building, and what reasons, and what are the construction issues that went on with this building and other things construction related. So to begin with, I want to give you a background of what this building, how it's basically come about. So before 1958, no African Americans were allowed to attend the University of any Florida. It was a state law that banned all blacks from attending. And it was only in 1958 that a George Stark Jr. was admitted to the law school, and unfortunately, actually, after 3 semesters, he dropped out because he was isolated. He felt really isolated by the student body as the only black guy among, thousands of white people. And so it wasn't until 1962 that a African American graduated from law school at the University of Florida. The IBC was founded in 1971 after the Black Student Union staged a protest in the president's office, and 67 students were suspended after this protest, and it wasn't until students started to withdraw in support that the university gave up and gave them the demand of giving them an institute, which became the Institute of Black Culture on University Ave. Unfortunately, that building is rather old. It's from the early 1900s, and it had tons of problems when it was demolished. It had structural issues, it had mold issues, it had termites. So the Alachua County basically declared it as, they condemned it, and they couldn't live there. They couldn't host the black affairs anymore. So they basically had to move on. Moving on, so now their new design is a modern design. It's the one on the left. The one on the right is La Casita, and actually their proximity is going to be important moving on. So they chose a modern design that reflected the heritage of African Americans, and tried to make it more functional than it used to be, because it couldn't act as a great study space to begin with. And now this is its current phase of construction. This construction started on September 26th of 2018, and is now, this is where it is now, and it should be done by the fall of 2019. So new students can, call the IBC their home. So the financing was by the UF Capital Improvement Trust Fund, which is basically just a trust fund for the university that the tuition dollars and other tax dollars go towards. And initially, the project was bid at $3.3 million for both buildings. This was further increased later to 9.9 million 3 years later. The original estimate was based on a late 2015 estimate, and my contact basically said between the material differences, the customization, and the project redesign, it just went up in price. So the price that the IBC should cost would be around $5 million. And for this project, the construction management would be a CM at risk, and they bidded this out early on, and DLR Group won the bid. And so then a contracting group called Foresight and UF acted as an ownership architectural group, along with the contractor Foresight, as a committee basically to talk to alumni, students, and faculty to see what was needed in the IBC, and other things. So there were two main design issues and solutions. The first was a technical one, where if you look to the northwest corner of the facility, these are the preliminary designs. There used to be a giant parking lot on this portion, and they had 17 parking spots. Well, reducing that means that they needed somewhere to put the water, because that acted basically as their basin. And so another subcontractor, DRMP, had to design a unique water system so that only 7 or 8 spaces would be needed. And that is under the parking garage, or the parking spaces. The other issue at hand was that, once again, I'm coming back to the proximity, is that on the left you have the IBC, and on the right you have the La Casita. These are two distinct organizations, and they wanted to remain as two distinct organizations. But when designing it, the group thought, okay, if we have this one plot and it's all UF, why not have some functional space that's shared? And so you would have some savings, but you would also have increased functionality. Well, the groups didn't like that. I mean, these are two very different cultural groups, and they wanted to keep it that way. They didn't want their identities to be combined, basically symbolically, in that they wouldn't have their own space. So they wanted to keep it separate on the left and the right, but this also costs more money. But the university agreed, and that's why that was also contributing to the higher cost. The next portion is the IBC had a unique design that it was supposed to represent the past and the present. They wanted to. They brought in designs like these, all of these, and you see like the pattern in the middle where it kind of represents the zigzag formation of the preliminary designs, and they also brought in the swirls from other designs into that round open space in the middle of the building. So, and then they also, as you see over here, they brought this design in on the front of the building. So they brought in different designs from African American heritage to basically represent the cultural heritage of the building, its future, and its past. And then you have the benefits to the university. And this one's a big one because, you know, it's why the university is doing it to begin with. Not only do they have to replace it, but also as our country becomes more diverse, universities are going to have to become more diverse. They have to be more competitive for more diverse students. And so this building is basically to make them more competitive, while also they're showing off like what the Cicerones would do. They would basically say, hey, instead of going, hey, this old building, it's kind of nice, blah, blah, blah. Now they have a new building to show off in the university. And I kind of want to close off on a more positive note, that this building is not just for the past and the present, it's also for the future. And I want to read a quote by the President Kent, Fox, and it says, "They will serve not only as embracing centers for African American and Hispanic Latinx students, but also as beacons of anti-racism and love for all people on our campus, which basically, and that basically means this is for the past, the present, and the future.